That's right.
I did not realize they had a cover for this movie at all.
Yeah, I know, right? Another positive for this movie, Ed. It had this song.
It's true. What's up, everybody? Welcome to a brand new episode of Granny's Peach Tea. For those counting, episode 131. That's right, baby. We're rocking and rolling, and we are talking Turtles one more time, at least until the sequel to Mutant Mayhem comes out. So
yeah.
But yeah, thanks for joining us on this Tuesday evening. For joining us on your Facebook live stream, or on YouTube, or on X, or Instagram, or wherever you found your audio on the podcast. We always appreciate the support. We're talking about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows. And we've been talking about the first 3 episodes of Gen V. So we're locked and loaded and ready to go. I am Ed, and with me as always is Jason. Jason, what's up?
How's it going, Ed? Good to be here. Good to be talking Turtles for the final time for a while. I felt very differently the last time we went on a bender like this, but this is a different animal. Literally, bro.
Literally
it's a different animal.
Literally it is.
But actually, I got a story to tell you. Ed. I was saving this for off the air until we got on the air.
Okay. So,
I found, can't really say where, but I found some old episodes of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from our childhood.
Okay.
And we was watching those with Finn, and he was like, "Daddy, I want to watch a Turtles movie." So we watched because they have it on Paramount as streaming. We watched the one I took him to see in the theater, the one that started this all, and then he wanted more, and I'm like, "Hey, buddy, you want to watch a Turtle cartoon? It's like these other cartoons you watch." And I put it on, and he just kept going, more Turtles, more. We went through the whole first season, which is only like 6 episodes. But
really?
Yeah, but like it's really short. And I'm not saying he like took notes or anything, but he paid attention to it. So I'm really I've always thought, like, can I get my son into shit I was into as a kid when he's a kid, so we share the same nostalgia? And I think so far the answer is yes.
All right. I mean, listen, I think you created a monster over here with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So
I think I did. I mean, he loves that movie. We're watching it, and he actually goes, "Daddy, when is Baxter Stockman coming?"
Wow.
Yeah.
He's also got your love for Baxter Stockman as well.
He does, because he inherited because it's one of the 2 action figures he inherited from me.
Uh-huh.
One is Baxter Stockman, the other is Rocksteady. And so those are his 2 favorites, because those are the ones he knows the best.
So just to give you a heads up, by the way, they did re-release the original Turtles.
They did. I know. That's how I got. That's how I have my Krang, which is on display right now somewhere.
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah. So listen, we're talking Turtles one more time. Excited to talk Turtles. I agree. A little bit different than when we talk Transformers or Bayformers. More
very
accurately.
Different.
Very different feels. So.
And I'll tell you something. I watched this Turtle movie last night, and then today I had to double down on Bay because I had to watch The Rock for Double O Deep Dive tomorrow.
Okay.
But I'll tell you something. I would take watching, like, if you gave me the option of watching those Turtle movies and The Rock back to back, or watching a 20-minute clip of any of those Transformer movies, I'm in for those 2 movies, man. Just strap me down for the 6 hours it takes.
Dude, I love The Rock. I still think that movie holds up.
Oh,
I'm a huge member of The Rock.
I'm gonna hold off till tomorrow.
You save yours. But I will just say that I've watched it recently, so it's not even like 20 years ago or some shit like that.
No, but I like it. Yeah, I'm not gonna go into it, but I do have an affinity for this movie. Which I didn't hide. I actually said it was the one thing that I would keep Michael Bay's existence around for. and I kind of faltered around that fifth Transformers movie.
It was rough, man.
Yeah,
But we survived, and we're
we
here.
did. We transformed into better podcast hosts.
There you go. Sometimes you got to get put through the pain before you become better on the other end of it, right?
That's right. Exactly. That's what we learned in wrestling school.
All right. So before we get started, during this podcast, you can support our page by sending us stars, which is a digital gift that helps us earn money for Pop Culture Pros, because that's what we are presented by Pop Culture Pros. So come hang out and let's talk some comic book stuff and Ninja Turtles. But before we get to the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Amazon dropped a little show called Gen V, which is a spin-off of The Boys. So if you're not familiar with The Boys, you probably should go back and watch that and not jump into Gen V as your starting point. I think I would highly recommend watching The Boys so you can get a flavor of what it is.
I would, yeah, but I would say like do that to get a flavor so you know what you're getting into. But I don't think you have to. I don't think there's nothing in these 3 episodes that I went, good thing I watched The Boys before this, you know?
Well, I think they did make it for people who could jump into it, but if you're a fan of The Boys, you obviously get all the nods and stuff, and
for sure,
yada yada.
Light University.
Yeah. Now, if you're not familiar with The Boys, it's an R-rated superhero show, if you want to call it, or anti-superhero show. That's a superhero show at the same time. That's on Amazon Prime Video, and it's pretty damn graphic. It's pretty. The language is what it is. It's a hard R, I would say.
Oh yeah,
it's a hard R. So understand to get into.
In the first 5 minutes of the first episode of The Boys, you watch someone very graphically get obliterated.
Yes,
like torn to pieces. I'm not even exaggerating.
Yeah, his girlfriend really got destroyed in that scene. But
so
Gen V doesn't really exactly take much of a back seat because, I mean, we're going to talk about the 3 episodes spoiler free. So let's drop the spoiler thing here. If you have not seen the first 3 episodes of Gen V, come back and check us out another time. But if you have watched Gen V, we're going to be spoiling shit out of it. So let's just have the open discussion now. In episode 1, that when we meet Maria here, she goes in and she discovers her powers when she gets her first period.
God damn.
And it is brutal.
It is, and let me tell you something, because I'm a dumb guy. It took me a minute to know what her powers were, because I went, wait, all right, she's having a period. Wait, did she just shoot metal out of there? What's going on? Like, it took me a minute to realize that like her power was the manipulation and weaponization of blood. But I gotta tell you though, man, this show, very clever. Boys, very cleverly written. Like, this is a metaphor for what it feels like. I'm assuming for a young woman to, become a young girl to become a woman, and for whatever reason, like it feels like her world is destroyed around her. It's like I don't know. I thought it was interesting. I really liked it.
Yeah, I thought that was pretty damn clever as well, and I kind of got the same like a takeaway of that as well. And neither one of us, can experience that, but it was right. An interesting idea of what you would think the metaphor is there. And she accidentally murders her parents, and her little sister is there pretty much to witness it all and sees her as a monster. And, it jumps around a little bit, but it kind of ends where she ends up getting, her name is Maria Monroe. So
right.
Could be a spin on Storm and stuff like that. Who knows? Or some like version of it, because a lot of these are parodies of pre-existing Marvel characters or DC characters, right, and things like that. They do take little things.
I think if the closest I could think about that she could resemble, I mean, power-wise and sort of story-wise, I think would be Rogue, right? Because doesn't Rogue have that awakening into womanhood where when she touches people, it nearly kills them?
Yeah, she does, but I kind of felt like, Golden Boy's girlfriend, Kate Dunlap.
Oh, right. Yeah.
She was more that she has like the gloves on. It's also never an exact parody.
No.
It's always a mixture of things. Yeah. Like even the main villain, Homelander, is a mixture of Superman and Captain America mashed together.
Right.
So again, I'm just spitballing here where they may have had some inspiration there for that. But she ends up going to a school that is pretty much being run by Vought, who is the evil corporate entity behind privatizing superheroes and stuff like that. And
Nothing good comes from Vought ever.
nothing at all. And they're pretty much like pulling the strings there at the school and stuff to pretty much shepherd they're like pretty much funnel the superheroes in for them that they can market and pretty much make money off them, capitalize off them. I mean, there's even classes that they're taking that is about social media and experience. And I felt like a lot of this was focusing on the kids and teenagers and what it could be like to be a teenager in this day and age, where it's all about social media and likes and who's got the most and influencers and things of that nature. And I thought that was pretty fascinating, honestly. And that's being taught in the school to the students that we meet.
Right. Well, because that's the thing. Their whole job as superheroes, and this is something that is explored a lot in The Boys, is, they are celebrities first. It's all about spin and image. They're almost like politicians, they go out and they say shit that doesn't matter, and they go back and make backdoor deals and kill a bunch of people for profit, So I love seeing because I have thought while watching The Boys. Well, I mean, I don't know how do they like recruit these kids? And now we see there's a fucking pipeline. Yeah. And then the part all of the classes, like you said, like social media, it's like, yeah, well, no, if we're training you to be the face of Vought, you have to be good at social media. You have to be good at speaking to people. And the fact that there's only a fraction of people who are even admitted to the lamplighter, part of the university, which is the crime fighting bureau, which is great because those of you who didn't watch The Boys, Lamplighters are one of the scummiest scumbags of the superheroes. Like, I believe he's the one who killed what's his face's wife and child, right? He kills, or it's the big guy, the big guy who's got it out for him. I forget his name.
Billy Butcher.
Did he kill Butchers, or did he kill one of the crew?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Mother's Milk. I'm sorry. Not
Mother's Milk. Yeah.
Mother's Milk, yeah.
That's why I couldn't think of his name. But yeah, no, so he's really, really terrible. Like, he lit Mother's Milk's father on fire. I believe, right? And so it's his school, right? And I love the nod to that. I love that so few people get in because they don't really fucking fight crime. I mean, no one gives a shit about that. It's all about brand and this, and I thought the satire is really there in this, to the level I believe The Boys has it.
Yeah, and it's not like a rehash of it or anything, and you definitely feel like you're in the world of The Boys, which I think is interesting for spin-off shows because you need to feel like you're watching an extension of The Boys or like it's a flawless transition. The reason I bring that up is because I'm also watching The Continental, which is from the world of John Wick. And
okay.
That show, it's not a bad show, but I don't feel like I'm in the same world of John Wick. So that's where I was just, for anyone who's watching that. The Boys Gen V does a much better job of feeling connected to The Boys with not rehashing the same exact shit. Like Jason had mentioned, this is a focus on school and younger adults, and like you mentioned, the perfect way to put it is it's a pipeline for Vought, for the Seven, and for whatever other superhero groups that they have, because they have others like Payback and shit like that. Right.
And I think it's important to note too is they didn't do what a lot of shows tend to do with spin-offs, like the handoff, and we're getting this more now with legacy reboots, but it used to be a big spin-off thing, like, oh, well, we'll have Homelander in this episode to give the commencement speech or something. But you see pictures of some of those guys people, you get name drops, but they're not showing up. And I think that's smart. And I'm going to be honest, I don't want to see them.
One second, sorry, my dog's going crazy, so I'm sure my wife just got home. I
think Vought might be there. Be very, very careful.
Might be. That was actually eerie timing for that to appear. But yeah, I agree with you. There isn't something like they're just beating you over the head. I mean, we get some appearances by some people, like cleverly, I believe. Like Ashley is in the ending of the episode, the first episode, where she
Oh yeah,
mentions
but
something. But no, you're right. It's not like Homelander and Butcher. Like Butcher would have no reason
right.
to be here at all.
Exactly. And neither would Homelander, neither would any of them. And I forgot because it was so well done. I forgot there were like some of the Vought people are there, and that makes complete sense. This is a Vought show. I will be surprised if Giancarlo Esposito doesn't show up at some point because I don't remember what happened to his
He's
character, but I know
dead.
we're going. Yeah, but aren't we going flashing back and stuff?
Oh yeah, no, you're right. No, my bad. You're right.
Yeah,
By the
so
way,
because
quickly for those following, this does the timeline of the current stuff we get is after Boys season 3. So
right,
Homelander had just did his crazy shit where he murdered people in front of an audience, and they
right.
went crazy for it and ate it up. But you're right though. Flashbacks, yeah, I can see a lot of people popping up through that. There's been pictures of when the Dean dies, that he's with A Train, and there's a little
Yes,
video by the Deep, who you can tell was totally just reading off whatever prompt and was probably sent there
right.
by Vought to do this video to repair his image.
Yeah, exactly. And again, those are fun cameos that aren't hand holding and passing off. Like even A Train in the beginning, who's like, because I think we start in the past with the main one of the main kids and his father who's really pushing him. The one who he's got the pyrokinesis or no the technokinesis.
Yeah,
Um, and
Andre's
they're
father.
watching. That's it, Andre. Yes, and they're watching like A Train be inducted into the seven. And there's a really powerful moment of his dad going the first black man in the seven. And that was kind of like a nod to Obama's presidency, right? And how people, in the community must have felt. So, like, I don't know, they were in it, but it was so clever and done so well that it never felt like it was we're passing the torch. We need you to buy this as the real. Like if you took them out, I'd still know this was in the world of the boys.
Yes, I mean even besides the language and some of the graphic nature, which we'll get into in more detail in a second, but yeah, it definitely feels like the setting is there. Polarity is Andre's father's name. So apparently
Okay,
he was a retired superhero
right.
whose son is in this, in this school, and he's going ahead and he's pushing him. So I think it's really interesting that we get different parts of the kids that are there, right? So we got Marie, who is going ahead and she's dealing with like she murdered her parents, and her sister's out there and she's telling these lies about her parents, like her father is always so proud of her at pickup games and things like that, and she's going ahead and running with that lie, which over the course of the episode she stops telling that lie because she ends up being promoted, being the one getting the push, to use a wrestling term, in popularity by the end of episode 3. We also meet Emma Meyer, who is pretty much she's Little Cricket is her name. She goes
I
out and does
loved
these
her.
YouTube videos. No, she's
I
awesome.
loved her so much.
And
She's so good in this.
for those who watch The Boys, her powers are kind of like Termite, who is able to shrink down. But the twist here is that she has to vomit and pretty much force herself to throw up. And it's kind of somewhat like an eating disorder because she needs to eat food to grow back to regular size. So it
Right.
is a pretty messed up thing.
And we do see like she vomits so much and gets herself so small she almost goes out of existence. She almost quantum zones herself.
Yes.
Um, and it's her roommate who is Blood Girl. I don't remember anyone's name,
Marie.
but
Just Marie.
Marie. Marie helps her and saves her because they're roommates and stuff. And I got to admit, like for a show, I give this show and I give the boys credit for this. It is the only show I've ever seen that is woke as fuck, but still somehow can like gets people who hate woke culture to put their blinders on and still watch it and enjoy it. Because the fact is, every one of these teenagers is dealing with a very, woke, problem of millennials, right? We hate our millennials. But like the Marie's a cutter, and that's pointed out.
Yes.
And Cricket is a bulimic, and that's pointed out. We haven't gotten to him yet, but we got the the shapeshifter who is gender fluid because they're a shapeshifter.
Yes,
And that's
Justin.
super.
I'm sorry,
Justin.
Jordan Lee. Jordan Lee.
That's
Yeah,
it.
pretty much. He literally has his superpower is to turn from a boy to a girl. Essentially,
Right.
that's his thing.
Exactly. And then you got Andre who's dealing with the legacy. You have to live up to the legacy. And these are such like woke teen problems. And the fact that these shows garner so many right wing people who hate woke culture astounds me.
Well, I think what this show does is the writing of it does a good job of poking fun at both sides.
Yes, absolutely. But
I
it's
know what you're saying.
slanted more to the other.
Yeah, I agree with you, but I think it gives enough jokes to pepper in there to do that. You know what I mean? Like, I think maybe that's
Yeah.
why everyone seems to universally like the boys and will like Gen V now as well. Speaking of legacy, by the way, I can't let go. Golden
No,
Boy.
I was waiting for this. I was letting
Oh,
you to bring this up.
Golden Boy is played by Patrick Schwarzenegger, yes, who is Arnold's son. And
I really liked him.
dude, he's really good. He's
And I
really
didn't
good
even know he was. I didn't even know he was Schwarzenegger's son until you pointed it out to me.
You know what's funny is that when you look at like kind of like his eyes and his forehead, you can very much see Arnold like in his face, and that's kind of what it locked in because it's not like he's talking with an Austrian accent or anything like that because he was born here. So,
I'm Golden Boy.
I'm Golden Boy. Come on, do it. Like there's nothing like that.
And why wouldn't he? He's American.
Yeah, I'm just saying, but you know what I mean. Like if he,
no, of course, yeah.
Put it this way, if Vaughn was in charge of his acting career,
he
totally would be doing that, and he would be his accent there.
They would send him to voice school to learn his father's accent, not to learn the language, to learn the accent. That's what Vaughn would do to him.
Exactly, and he does a great job. And whatever, we're talking spoilers. He commits suicide at the end of the first episode.
He does, and I have to admit I didn't see that coming.
Nope.
And I really felt the way he does it is powerful because he's a good actor. Like, say what you want about Arnold, that he's not an actor, he's an action star, whatever. Whatever. I still love the guy, but this kid can act. Like this kid who if I can go through like his death, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course.
So like, there's a whole scene where Marie goes out and parties, and Andre winds up killing someone accidentally and isn't really broken up about it. And she saves the girl, and Clancy Brown, who's in this, love my Clancy Brown, who's the head of the Lamplighter School for Dickheads, whatever it's called. He pretty much says, "You're great, you're fantastic. We're expelling you, and you're taking the blame for this because we don't give a shit about you. Get out of here." And she leaves, gets pissed off, comes back to what I believe is kill him. Just want to go on record as saying she slit the fucking palms and got the blood and everything. And she walks in on Golden Boy hugging him and immolating him. He looks around. They have what I thought was a really cool, awkward moment of him going, "You didn't see anything." And her going, "No, I didn't see anything." And him like coming to the conclusion like, shit, I gotta kill her. You know? Goes out, tries to kill her. Was it Chris, the gender fluid shapeshifter? I forget their name.
Jordan.
Jordan.
Jordan Lee is the name of the character, but I forgot what, because I know, it might be Chris. Actually, I think you're right when he turns into the female.
Yeah, so Jordan, Chris. I'll just say the shapeshifter because you want me to remember two names now. And no, that's me. I can't even remember a name, but it's my fault. I have to remember 134 names every year, so it cut me some slack. Anyway, so Jordan / Chris kind of goes run and distracts Golden Boy. Golden Boy runs out after not killing but turning on Chris / Jordan. Then sees Andre, hugs Andre, and says, "I didn't want it to be this way." And you think he's going to immolate Andre, and he flies up and fucking kills himself. And it was like, I'm watching that going, holy shit, what just happened?
Yeah, I was honestly not ready for that. In the least, and I thought it was it was interesting because he's also dealing with some stuff. He's talking about the woods and stuff like that. We also see a scene where his brother ends up trying to escape the school and is locked up downstairs,
Mhm.
and the walls are painted like the woods, and he's kind of being imprisoned down there, which we don't fully know everything that's going on with him just yet, but that's part of the mystery of what's going to unfold over the season. So my guess is he's being experimented on and shit like that, and
Oh
yada
fuck yeah!
yada. Yeah. So him
Because
with others.
everyone everyone in Vought keeps talking about the woods.
Yeah.
The woods. You know about the? Did they know about the woods? So yeah, like Vaught's involved. It's all cloak and dagger. Bad shit's going down there. That's it.
Yeah. It's basically all you need to know. So that's an interesting thing. So you got because Schwarzenegger's kid is Golden Boy, and now he's going to be promoted. He's going to be the next member of the Seven. The dean is like, you're ready to go. We're picking out your superhero suit. It's going to be, because his powers are like the Human Torch. He can turn himself to fire,
that's right.
essentially. He flies around. They're trying to put a suit together because he always burns off all his clothes, and they even say your balls are hanging out all the time. And we're going to try to fix that. And
Which I love. I love that because this is what the boys in Gen V needs to do. I need to know the fucking mechanics of everyday life having these powers.
yeah, I think it's smart. And
Yeah.
one of the scenes that's there, but I wanted to talk about the scene for in episode 1 with Little Cricket, who she ends up I think she even mentions at one point that she technically is still a virgin at least through traditional sex, and she meets this boy who's like a fan, and they're gonna go ahead and they go back to her room and they're getting into it.
And she's horny as fuck before this. She wants a threesome.
She's all over the place with this shit. She is.
I love her.
Her sexual awakening is ready to roll. And then the guy just tells her, can you get small? Is this gonna seem weird and stuff like that? And she's like, it's funny because she explains them anatomy. It's not really gonna work. And he's like, no, I want you to do this thing where you get small. And even in his words, he was like, you hang off my cock, and that's it. And she goes along with it, and you can tell she has that look on her face, she knows she has to go vomit and do this whole fucking thing to
and it becomes
this asshole.
It's no longer sexy for her. It's no longer fun.
No, she's playing along and going along with it, and they do show a visual where, and it's kind of funny though because it did remind me of Boys season 3 where we have the opening scene with Termite where they jump in the fucking pee hole thing and all this other shit. And I thought, now, did you think something crazy bad was going to happen once?
Of course I did. This is the fucking Gen V. And the last time I saw someone get small and have sex, they blew someone's cock off and killed them. Of course I thought bad shit was going to happen.
So basically, you talked to Angie about it. Apparently, Rick was mortified by the scene because
I saw Rick's post, man.
Rick is prude Cedras now. That he's
Father Rick.
Yeah. I gave him shit for that, by the way, completely offline, because he went to see Saw X, and I'm like, are you ready for that? Are you okay? Are you sure? I'm also the guy who tricked him into seeing Terrifier 2. And I didn't even see it.
That's not cool, man. That's not cool. No one needs to see Terrifier 2.
And I'm pretty sure he's seen Human Centipede also.
Oh God, that's one. You know that story about me, right? That movie broke me for 48 hours. Yeah.
Yes, I know. But yeah, pretty much nothing bloody or anything happens. They just show obviously there was it's funny to me because it's obviously a huge fake dong they have there, and she's slapped his balls a couple of times and stuff, and she's going along with it. You can tell she's annoyed because she's she thought it was going to go down for real, what she wanted to do, and lose her.
Also, great metaphor for sex at that age, especially females, but this also happens to males, where you kind of get caught up in a situation if it's going one way and then it goes another, and you don't have it in you to kind of put the kibosh on it. You don't want to be there, so you're just all right, I guess I'll vomit my guts up and shrink down and tug on your tiny dick to make it look big if that's what you want. It's I think that's a funny but still poignant metaphor for hookups you have as a kid that you regret,
Yeah. So that was the big, scene and stuff like that went on there that, apparently got people going in. There's also an invisible guy who's running around with his shit hanging out apparently, but you don't actually see
Oh,
it.
yeah. That's
So
funny. Hey, you can't tell us to do that with your dick hanging out. Yeah, my dick's hanging out. You can't. Like, I actually find that very funny.
that was also like translucent in The Boys. Because remember in the
Oh,
very first episode, he does some
that's
shit
right.
like that.
That's right. Oh, yeah, that's right. Apparently, all invisible people are perverts.
Yeah, and that's the thing that's interesting in this. Like, you haven't seen The Boys and stuff, like the superheroes are most of them are pretty fucked up for
Yeah.
various reasons, and it kind of, yeah, they're not all going to be perfect. Like in most of our other, well, not even, well, Marvel does a solid job at making sure no one's perfect. They don't go to these extents where this is a whole nother level.
No, but I'll be honest with you. I think this is way more realistic than Marvel.
Of
Like,
course, of
because
course.
human beings we're disgusting, depraved creatures with chimp brains that killed our way up the evolutionary scale. There's no way if we just started randomly getting superpowers, the big majority of us wouldn't try to fucking kill or fuck anything that moved. I mean, that's just kind of species we are.
It's an abuse of power is what ends up happening.
Exactly.
So that kind of transitions us to like episode 2 and 3, where they try to pretty much find out. There is a bit of a mystery around like what the hell happened with him. Why did he kill himself? It wasn't like a suicide note per se left, but there was a video that they do find in a statue and apparently in the crotch of Andre's dad, who is there because Golden Boy tells him in one of his last words is like, your father has it.
Which I want to say that as much as I like this, I was kind of like, I have last words to you. I can say very few things. Your father has it. Did you get that? Your father has it. And I'm not saying he did that, but your father has it. He literally could have said, the statue of your father's crotch has it. Like, literally, it's like 2 or 3 more words. Like, he didn't have to, like, make it so mysterious.
Hey, but we'll hand wave that for the sake of TV writing.
That's fine.
That's fine.
I'm completely fine with it. I just want to point it out.
I agree. It was just to keep us going a little longer.
Yeah.
So, they go ahead and they get a video, and it's more talking about the woods and stuff like that. And like, you pretty much made a video for if you're seeing this, shit's gone wrong and everything. And it gets them on the path of trying to find the woods and try to find his brother and things like that. And Andre takes it upon himself. And Andre's an interesting character too, because like you had mentioned, he did some fucked up shit in episode 1, but we also find out he's one of the protagonists that we're kind of like being asked to get behind, at least at this point. And that's why I think the boys in Gen V do a great job of giving us protagonists, because even the boys themselves are not exactly the greatest people either. Like, there's a lot of fucked up people on both sides of this thing.
Well, I mean, Billy the Butcher is arguably just as bad as Homelander.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they make the boys out to be exactly that as well. So that's another thing that I like about this show so much, is that it makes you think a lot. And it's funny because me and Rick were talking about the boys, and I feel like he kind of gets hung up on the graphic nature of stuff and things like that, and doesn't quite get like the genius of the show, which I think we share. Like, there's a way more there than I think some people might give it credit for.
No, I agree, and I think it's a mistake to write it off just because it's graphic. Like, and I think I've said this on the show a ton of times. I got no problem with graphic. It has to have a point. If it's pointless graphic violence or sex, I don't want anything to do with it, because, I mean, if I wanted graphic sex without a plot, I'd watch porno. If I wanted graphic violence without a plot, I'd watch boxing or something, like or hobo fights or whatever the fuck you can get on the internet. But like, if you're gonna give me this stuff, it's got to be poignant. It's got to have a point. I really do think it does here. Like, I think the graphic nature of these shows really is there to like throw it in your face. Like, no one wins if we have superheroes. Like, it's kind of like Watchmen on steroids, like The Message.
Yeah, I can see that. I can definitely see that. That is actually a great way to look at it.
Right, because Watchmen is a story that hates superheroes. It says if we have superheroes, it destroys us. And this ultimately does the same thing for like an updated version. In the 80s, it was big government who was using them. Now it's bought industries. It's just we've taken our cultural like country's boogeyman and put it in the face, but it's a very similar message.
I think That's well said. That's,
Hey.
that was. So then the second episode also goes into they start taking Marie and they see that she's like popular and they end up calling her the guardian of is it Golovkin?
Oh,
I'm going to mispronounce the school's name. And they even say, like, you can tell this was a shot at Guardians of the Galaxy because they were going to call her and Andre the Guardians of Golovkin. And like, it's too much of a mouthful. It's a lot going on there and stuff. So I thought that was cool. And they start training her to tell the story of what happened with Golden Boy, but she had to intervene and stop him. And they do what they do. What Vought does is this person's dead, so we're going to turn them into a villain. So we can have a PR spin that doesn't look like one of our Golden Boys, kind of fucking flaked out and ended up murdering himself because that would not be good for the image or for the brand. So
it's bad PR.
Yeah, and she starts going through this whole thing. She's trying to decide, should I tell the truth or not? Like, should I, as soon as the cameras start rolling, they can't stop me. So they're going to go with it. And even they make a comment where it's like, is she going to have a Starlight moment? Or is she going to kind of just go with it? And I thought that was pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like that name drop. Like, she's either going to crash and burn or she's going to have a Starlight moment or something like that. It was like, let's just see what happens. I love that name drop. And I have to say I love that scene because it's such great character work. I think the actors they got in general are really good. I'm not going to call anyone out Marie's, but like in this instance, it's Marie. Like, I didn't know where she was going with that. I didn't know what she was going to do until she did.
I didn't know which way she was going to go. That's good writing.
And I thought, no, it's very good writing because I looked to predict this shit and I couldn't predict it. And I really appreciated that. I like some of the lines she takes. I like that her attitude changes. She's like, at one point, she's like, I don't owe you anything. You tried to keep me out of the class. I don't owe you anything. We're not partners. You tried to set me up for your fucking shit. And I love that, she takes a hard stance and then she was going to sort of do the right thing by Jordan Chris. God, now I'm remembering two names. I can't remember other people's names. There you go. But she doesn't because they kind of shake her up and tell her, yeah, your sister hates you. We found her. She hates you. She wants nothing to do with you. And I was like, wow, what good character work because you're bringing who's obviously the main protagonist to a point of being a good guy and then yanking that away with something emotional that would wreck someone in her position. And I applaud the writing. The writing was so good in that scene.
Yeah, and and then I guess in episode 3, it focuses on Brink is who he is the dean who was murdered by Golden Boy, played by Clancy Brown. And
I love Clancy Brown, by the way.
He's in everything. We've seen a ton of Clancy Brown.
And we should always see a ton more because the man is brilliant.
Agreed. And it's basically like a funeral service for him, and that's where the previously mentioned videos from the deep come and pictures with A-Train and stuff like that. And there's a lot of work in there too, because we also meet Little Cricket's mother, who is there.
Oh, yes.
And we find out, she's trying to go ahead and she's trying to basically manage her, like talks about her, her eating problems and things like that. And she's a pretty fucked up mother with her.
She is, and actually that is spurned by a small thing that we forgot, which I'm going to go back to because I actually did want to talk about this. Cricket takes an acting class and befriends this I forget her name, but the girl who is like the vault superstar of this class, and they become partners. And she's like, well, I don't like. Cricket's like, all right, so how small you want me to get to do this? And she's like, no, I don't want you to get small. I want you to really act. And they have a moment and they bond. And it's the first time we find out, but she shares like, yeah, I have to vomit to get small. And then the friend winds up going and puts it on, calls her out on a podcast on social media. But I also have to say, like, they're playing it so well that you're not sure if she's really trying to be friends or really and fucking up. Because she has this moment of like, well, you didn't tell me it was a secret. Holy shit, I just thought it could help other people.
Yeah.
And then she tries to reconcile, but someone's taking a video, and it's like, what's going on with her? And I think that's cool that I don't know. She's probably a scumbag because this is, the Boys spinoff. But that also then leads us up to Cricket.
Because they're trying to spin it into like a movie. You're like, hey, we're going to do this movie, and you're going to like we're gonna try to like lean into real world problems and with her and things like that. And she just feels like she's being trotted around pretty much like like a trophy and stuff like
Yeah,
that. And it's pretty fucked up what ends
it
up
is.
happening with her. But she ends up going ahead and she gets recruited by Andre because Andre genuinely wants to find out what the hell's going on behind all this crap, and teams up with Golden Boy's girlfriend, who was Kate, who, I mean, they end up also like kissing and stuff, and they awkwardly talk about getting down also. Oh, no, what did they talk about? Getting it on.
Getting it on.
So
It's been a while.
it's true. That was a transition that I didn't see coming. But she goes
Neither
ahead
did Golden Boy. What?
she decides to get small again and tries to infiltrates the university and finds Golden Boy's brother, who's down there trying to help him out. But then she finds out he can get out of there whenever the fuck he wants.
Yeah.
He memorized every password and everything. And then security shows up to try to track her down, and they know she's there. And then she ends up fucking murdering the guy.
Yes. Oh my
God.
God.
And, like, brutally going through his fucking ear.
Okay, brutally, but tell me you didn't laugh at the end.
Of course I did.
She goes through his one ear and out the other, but she doesn't realize he's got an earpiece on. She can't get it out, and she's like drowning in his blood. It's so nasty, but it's just so funny.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what else might leave it out here.
So, do you think this? So, while we're on this guy, right? Because this guy has to be like Professor X Legion level power, right? Like,
I think so. That's why they want him.
Yeah, like he has to be someone who is going to be like a big fucking guy in or an amalgamation of big guys or people in these universes, right? Like,
yeah,
because
there's more to him.
There's gotta be. There's gotta be because he's just like, oh yeah, no. Like I actually love, and this actually gives us a hint. This actually reminded me of when I did my rewatch of Legion, which is why I brought that one up. When Cricket first appears, he's like, oh, now I've created a tiny girl. Why did I create a tiny girl? What's going on in my head that I've created a tiny girl? And she's like, you didn't create me, asshole. And he's like, yeah, what's my favorite movie? She said, I don't fucking know. And she says something, and he's like, oh, maybe I didn't create you. That's what gave it to me. So, like, it reminded me of it reminded me of an episode of Legion. So, it's got to be something like that.
Okay, I like that. I think you're onto something with this. I'm totally on board with that. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I left out that we want to touch on over these first 3 episodes. No, I mean, I think that's kind of where things are going.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing about Andre I want to talk about is I think they made a series of very smart decisions to play the satire, right? Because Andre is a protagonist, at least in the beginning, at least right now. We're supposed to feel for him. Him and the girlfriend have this whole thing where they infiltrate one of the vault, places, right? And it gets robbed.
Yes.
And she saves him. So that he's someone we're supposed to care about. But we did watch him murder someone accidentally. It was accidentally in the first episode. But he also doesn't really care about it. But I think it's interesting that he's a protagonist. If they made him white and gave him that privilege, I think it would come off as villainous. The fact that he is a person of color and dealing with the legacy thing, like they chose that, kind of makes it for the audience to go, oh shit, okay, well, I don't agree with what he did, but I kind of understand where he's coming from and still can say he's a good guy because they have taken steps to remove him from that privilege. But I do think they are very much exploring, like, well, when rich guys or girls get drunk and accidentally kill a bunch of plebes on their drunk drive home, well, daddy's going to take care of that. And that's kind of what happens here, but on a boys' heightened level.
Yeah, because and this is also shit that we've seen happen with the boys, with the Seven. The Seven have
100%.
They've murdered people. They've murdered, like Homelander and others have murdered prostitutes and shit like that. And it's nuts. and apparently the kids also get that also level of protection from Vought as well. So I think that's kind of, and that's probably what Andre's thing is that he's so used to being protected that it probably wasn't going to be that big of a deal. But now he's kind of had like a come to Jesus moment in a way to say, all right, I kind of want to do the right thing. Like, I wonder if Golden Boy didn't kill himself, if he would have reached this part or not. Because up until his death, he's kind of like, no big deal. After the death, we start seeing that he's like, oh shit, real world shit's going down right now. Like, maybe responsibility is, something that we need to take a hold of. So
I think that's a great point, and I think you're right. I think that's his character arc is, I watched my best friend kill himself. I have to understand why. It makes me realize that I shouldn't kill people and hide behind my privilege. I think that might be where his arc is going, or whatever, something similar like that.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so I think I'm super excited for episode 4 to drop, this week. I mean, I would say that, yeah, if you're a fan of the boys, definitely recommend Gen V. I think we're in for another wild ride, as I'm sure you can tell by our reactions here, and can't wait to see it. I'm just curious to know, what's where. I do know that they didn't mention this on Gen V, their X account, is apparently Soldier Boy appears in this show.
All right, I dig that, because
my guess is it's going to be in a history class or some shit like that.
And I hope so. And that's the thing. I dig that because I don't for 1 second think Soldier Boy is going to be going shoulder to shoulder with these guys. It's going to be like in the history books or a history class or something. You're 100% right.
Yeah, I think that's how.
And I'm all for it.
Yeah, it'll be some sort of that or flashback or some shit.
Yeah, because I also love Soldier Boy. Like, I love that actor. I loved his character. I love the granny shagging. I just love his character. So look, if he gives us a Captain America, patience is a virtue. I'm in. I'm fine.
Hey, listen, Jensen Ackles is his name, and by the way, there are some pushing him because he has voiced Batman. I'm pretty sure he's the current voice of Batman in the DC animated films. There are some pushing him to be live action Batman.
All right, I wouldn't say no.
Okay, I just wanted to. I know there's a curveball to throw at you quick to see. And now you're thinking about it. You're trying to picture him as Bruce Wayne.
I wouldn't say no. I'd have to see pictures of him clean shaven. I only know him from The Boys, so I'd have to see pictures. But acting wise, I think he could do it.
He's got the Batman voice down. I can tell you that much because he's in his voice. I know that much. So, all right. So then I'll transition us to our movie of the week. So those who've been checking us out, you know that we've been doing a retrospective of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, mostly theatrical releases. We peppered in a couple of non-theatrical gems that we found. Thank you,
phenomenal
Jason,
stuff,
for finding Turtles Forever. That was awesome.
Oh, thank you, Finn.
Yes, Finn, thank you very much for finding Turtles Forever. We also finally got to see Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Both
Which is awesome.
Were phenomenal. But this brings us to our final live-action one, which is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Out of the Shadows, the second Michael Bay produced Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which we have discovered Michael Bay produced, not the same as Michael Bay directed.
Not at all.
That's a good thing. So just go with it. Overall thoughts.
Oh, I love this movie. I love this movie. And I'll tell you something. I watched this movie the other day, and I have watched now all of these Ninja Turtles movies, and this one I remember the second best.
Okay.
Like, the first is always going to be, I saw the first as a kid. That's different, right? I remember, like, watching this movie going, okay, here's what I remember about this movie. Bebop and Rocksteady, Krang Freezer Shredder, Casey Jones is here, and I like Will Arnett. And all of that was still there. I really cannot, like, and then here's the thing. Every critique I had of the first movie is still here. I think the turtles look weird. I think there are parts that are too dark. I'm actually going to tone back. I don't think it's over sexualized. I think they did a really good job of scaling Mikey's crush on April back to a fun thing and not a creepy I got a boner in my shell and I'm jerking off thing. But a lot of the critiques are the same. But like, I don't know, man, Bebop and Rocksteady were in this, and I got to see their human forms, and they look a lot like the human forms in the first episode of the cartoon. I can say that because I just watched that 4 or 5 days ago.
Nice. Um, I enjoyed this. I'm gonna tell you the truth. I didn't remember hardly anything about this movie, besides what you had mentioned. I knew Rocksteady and Bebop were in it. I knew Krang showed up. I knew Stephen Amell was here as Casey Jones. And that was it, because I watched this on a flight once that I probably was dozing in and off out of and
Yeah,
missed most of the movie. I'm glad I rewatched it because I did enjoy it. Listen, it's a fun Turtles movie. I agree with you. Some of the critiques are still there. But nothing that can't be overcome, because I think now we've watched so much Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles that you get an idea of what it's supposed to be. Now, I enjoyed this. I even said last week, I've come around this time on the look of the Turtles in these movies. I actually like the way the Turtles look in these. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because even off looking at pictures, like even our background right now, right off the bat, I'm like, that's weird. But I'm like, no, they're kind of huge Mutant Ninja Turtles, and
yeah.
it's fine. And I like when they're differentiated. It seems like I've learned that over time, that I do kind of like that their look matches their personality. That's obviously here again. I think Megan Fox, again, she does a solid job as April O'Neil. I mean, she's not given a crazy amount to do, but she does the job well. It's there. She's not, it's because, something, we've seen her in the Bay movies where she was insanely over-sexualized.
Yes,
and these, hey, she's an attractive woman. She's here. They'll lean into it a little bit, but it's not what her entire character arc is.
No, right. And I'll tell you something, Casey Jones, a hell of a lot more respectful to April O'Neil in this movie with their budding romance than Elias Codius, which is like, hey, babe, want to see my mushroom tip, bitch? Like, obviously it wasn't that, but like, it was so like terrible, like watching it. It didn't hold up.
It's true. I'm laughing because it's true. That's like how crazy over the top he was in that.
He was so bad. Like he kept calling her babe. Like he was so sexist. And at least here, like this Casey Jones, like I appreciate that they tried to normalize. Like, okay, he's not just a guy who puts on a hockey mask. We're going to explain how this happens. I don't think he necessarily needed it, but I appreciate they tried something different. But like the fact is, I buy this romance. I don't think she was over sexualized. As I said, I think they toned down the Mikey stuff, which I liked, because they made it more of an innocent crush.
Yeah.
They had a really great moment, and I'm going to say great moment in this movie, between Michelangelo and Will Arnett, when Casey Jones shows up, and it's clear that there's romance, and Michelangelo goes, Vern, which is a character in the cartoon, by the way.
Yes, it is.
Vern goes, who's this guy? I don't know. No one who's powerful could do anything. And I don't remember the insult, but they both insult him because they have a thing for April and kind of give each other the pat. Like,
yeah.
I fucking loved that, man. And the fact she's not over-sexualized, that's a bro moment where they're not being dicks or like, talking about like anything overly sexualized. And she still gets to have a really nice romance with a, Steve Amell, Casey Jones. Again, I think they treated her better in this movie than they did the last one.
I fully agree with you. Actually, yeah, I mean, she has this undercover thing that she does to get close to Baxter Stockman early in the movie. But you want to know something? To me, whatever, that's someone who's using her looks to her advantage to get close to like a nerdy dude who she needs information from, and she doesn't go do nothing crazy. I mean,
well, that's the thing. She uses her looks. She doesn't like use her sexuality. Like she's like, I'm an attractive woman. I'm gonna get some information, and then I'm gonna disappear, and then I'm gonna. And I thought that was cool, where she grabs the cowboy hat of someone, puts it on an attractive like guy coming in, goes, "Hey girls, it's a cowboy." Gets all people around, kind of just sneaks out. Like I don't know, like yeah, she used her feminine wiles, but she also used cunning and intelligence. So it's like, I have no problem when attractive females use that to their advantage in movies. I have a problem when it's the only thing they have to use, and that was not the case here.
No, it's true. And even Baxter calls her out at one point, like, you're way too attractive. You're not going to be interested in me.
Right.
And then she starts actually dropping knowledge that Donatello gave her earlier,
Yeah,
and it's pretty
so that was
smart,
awesome.
where she uses it to talk him to get closer. So I guess there's a lot of characters to unpack here, even ones that we mentioned. So we can start with the Turtles. I think the Turtles are all greatly characterized again. I do enjoy that.
Agreed.
There's character growth that you kind of see with all four of them in this from the first film. So I do like that. It's nothing too bonkers. Like Leo's more confident now in his thing. Raphael and him aren't just arguing all the time about this shit, except for when it comes down to one thing, which we'll get to in a minute. That it's a legit plot point.
But it's a big thing. It's a big thing.
It is a big thing. And Donatello looks, again, he has a fully functional fucking turtle van that looks like it was straight out of the cartoon. The 87 cartoon, it's awesome. It has all the weapons and gadgets. It's throwing the fucking sewer manhole covers, which is great.
Oh my god, yes! It was like that's the thing about this movie, Ed. That's what sets this movie apart from the first one. I've been thinking a lot about this. I think the first one was trying to capture the original sort of darkness, right? But it didn't work because it's a Michael Bay produced movie and it's about fucking Ninja Turtles and it's not the comic book. This went whole hog into the insanity that was the cartoon.
Yes, the 87 cartoon. I agree.
Yeah, and I think like I'm not saying if you ever do a Ninja Turtles thing, it always has to be around the 87 cartoon. I am saying if you're going to do a big budget movie, Turtles movie, aimed at people who watched the 87 cartoon, which these two were, because we didn't have the influx of turtle shit that we have now when the first one came out. You need to cater it to that.
Yeah. And I that's the thing. There's so many incarnations of the Turtles at this point and they're also very different that it's interesting which one you're adapting at this point. And this movie is fully love letter
100%.
to the 1987 incarnation. And that's why I think we both were drawn to it. We admit the movie's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but we had both had a lot of fun with it. So yeah, we even mentioned the turtle van that's there. We had mentioned April. She's got a lot more to do with it. She's all full on investigating and trying to look into the Foot Clan and stuff. We get Baxter Stockman in this, played by Tyler Perry, which I thought he was pretty cool in this as well.
I liked him a lot in this. My biggest problem with this movie and Baxter Stockman is he is not a fly at the end of this movie. But you know what? They were setting it up for a sequel that they unfairly never got.
I agree. I thought, and I don't remember a lot about this, but there were certain scenes where I thought, especially when he sees Rocksteady and Bebop get mutated and his face lights up, I thought by the end of this movie he was going to be a fly. Not so much. But you're right. There's definitely stuff being set up for a third movie.
And also when we get to Shredder and Krang, like what happens there, like that was all being set up for that third movie, which I'm sorry, man. How the fuck did we greenlight 20 Transformers movie and not a third of this after the cinematic beauty that we just watched?
Literally just this. Unfortunately, this didn't have the box office that somehow those Transformers movies kept bringing up.
It's infuriating.
It's crazy. I'm going to tell you the truth. I think one of my critiques of this movie, character-wise, is Casey Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So, I love Stephen Amell. Listen,
I do not.
He will probably always be my Oliver Queen. No, I'm saying if I was Oliver Queen, I love Stephen Amell.
Oh, as Oliver Queen, yes.
Yes.
As the guy who fought the writer's strike, not so much.
Well, he did and then walked it back because I think he realized
because he realized it was bad PR and he was good. Like he didn't do it for any good reason except selfishly. Let's be honest.
Yeah, but I'm saying my knowledge of him for the most part, like I remember when Arrow first started, his mother had passed away of cancer, and that's kind of like touched something with me.
Yeah,
and he did his launch campaign of "Fuck Cancer." And it was basically him on a Post-it with a finger there. I bought a hoodie.
Oh, I didn't even see those.
Yeah, I bought a hoodie of it. He was doing it, and it was all going to cancer research and stuff. So, and I was his championing of pretty much like everything Arrow and launch of the Arrowverse. Like that whole thing is what and he's like found a love for wrestling. Now the show just got canceled, but it's being shopped around called Heels. So there's a lot. I agree. The writer's strike thing, not great. A lot of his other stuff, I think he's done more good than outweighed in the bad.
That's fair. I like him as Oliver Queen a lot. I'll definitely say that.
As Casey Jones, I think it's a mixed bag, and I don't think it's all his fault because I think he's not given a ton to work with here. I think the amount of time he spends with the hockey mask is like 1 or 2 scenes tops. He's more of a correction officer in this and doesn't have the mask on. This character could have been named anything and still done the same thing. He didn't have to be Casey Jones, but they were like, fuck it, we're going to go all in. We got to get Casey in here somehow. So they get him into this. That's my critique of it. Rocksteady and Bebop are fucking great. Like, they are totally perfect.
And I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna point out a scene that I fucking loved. That if someone watched this and they never saw the 87 cartoon, they would have hated it. But I'm gonna call it out as I loved it. When they were like, "Hey, am I fat? Yeah, you're fat. Awesome, pound it!" And they're pounding each other's stomach because, like, literally, that's how stupid these guys were in the cartoon. And it was just, I get it. If you're going for the cartoon, it's perfect. If you don't know the cartoon, I get why it pissed people off. But man, was that my Rocksteady and Bebop. And whoever the fuck directed this has watched at least one episode of the Ninja Turtles.
Oh, yeah.
Because they knew that Bebop was black and Rocksteady was white and knew their fucking color tones that they wore, which were different in the first episode than in later episodes. So I'm going to say just by that alone, I love this movie.
So it was directed by Dave Green, which I don't know much about his background and stuff, but I would imagine he was probably a Turtles fan growing up and stuff like that.
He must have been. This is a love letter to that show.
So the interesting things I also wanted to point out that were kind of clocked here is Alan Richardson, who people will probably know now as being on Reacher on Amazon Prime Video. We know him as being Hawk on Titans.
Yes,
he was the voice he was the voice of Raphael in this film.
Was he really?
Yes, he was.
Good job for him. Good stuff.
I like that. There is a Vanilla Ice Easter egg in here when pretty much Casey Jones is infiltrating the bar that Rocksteady and Bebop frequent, and he's even like, "Man,
that was awesome.
Dumb enough to go back to the bar that they hang out with." Yeah, they would. And he goes back there. He's talking to the guy, by the way, who's the Mayhem guy from the fucking commercial.
Yes, and Liz Lemon's shitty boyfriend from the first couple seasons of 30 Rock.
So I thought those were cool things to clock in here as well. This also, if you're a New York Knicks fan, there's a lot of Knicks in this. The Turtles go to see a Knicks game are hanging in the Garden Jumbotron, and Carmelo Anthony has a cameo in this movie as well, in an actual scene with Vern. Who Vern is taking all the credit from the first film and being known as the Falcon, Fenwick.
I love. But also what I love is this, right? That very easily could have been made to be Vern's a shitbag, right? No, it's pointed out multiple times. Guys, you're pissed, but this is the arrangement we made. Vern this wasn't Vern's idea. This was your idea. And I think, again, this very easily could have been, oh man, we got to give that guy his comeuppance. But I don't know. There was a little nuance there that you don't expect in these Ninja Turtle films.
Agreed, and I think that ties into what the argument between Leo and Raphael I mentioned earlier. So they pretty much find out this certain ooze. You could say the secret of the ooze again, but much better, is pretty much from Dimension X in this, and it's given from Krang to Shredder, and that's how he creates Rocksteady and Bebop. And so apparently it goes ahead and brings out like a dormant gene. So the mutation idea is like a little bit different from before.
Yeah, and when you're done, I'm going to explain why that's...
Go ahead, jump into it now, because I know you mentioned it last week. So,
all right, so I'm going to say two things right off the bat. One positive, one negative, one positive. Here's a negative. That's bullshit. Their whole thing of No, it brings out a dormant gene in you, and you just become a random animal. That's not how genetics work. That's not how evolution works. That's not how biology works. You couldn't put that on me and bring out a chimp. And as I said before, human beings are have chimp brains, well descended from chimps, right? So like that's not how it works. However, the positive I'm going to say is this: does it make any less sense than any other explanation of how this fucking ooze works, including the '87 cartoon?
No, I didn't care. That's why I hand waved.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's because it's all just until this movie it's science, and in this movie it's Krang, and
Yes.
well, who gives a shit? Like it made no sense, but it never makes sense. So who cares? I'm on board. Wait a minute. Are you giving me Bebop and Rocksteady in their natural rhino warthog form? I don't give a shit how you got there. You could have said God and magic, and I'd have been fine with it.
Agreed. That's why I didn't really care too much about it. But I actually chuckled when I heard that. I'm like, okay, buddy.
Yeah, no, but I knew I had to address it because like scientifically, it is the stupidest thing I ever heard. But plot wise, I don't give a shit.
So Bill Nye, the science guy, watched this movie. He would probably lose his shit.
Oh yes, or like what's his face?
Yeah, I know.
Neil deGrasse Tyson
Yes.
would fucking I don't know. He'd have a heart attack. I mean, he'd kill us all for even saying that this was mildly entertaining. But I don't know, man. It's fiction.
Exactly.
Fiction doesn't have to adhere to the rules of the real world, just the rules you set in it.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we've always said. If you create your own rules, just stick to your own rules, and that's it.
Right. And this movie created the rules that a fucking a weird transdimensional brain alien in a bodysuit steals a weird Japanese Yakuza kind of figure and gives him mutagen. Hey, they didn't violate that rule, so it's cool with me.
Yeah. So they pretty much, the Turtles find that Donatello discovers that this could probably make us temporarily human. He pours a little bit on his hand and it starts giving him 5 fingers and stuff. And then the question comes down. He talks to Leo about it, and Leo is like, we bury this right here. We're not doing that. That's not for us. It's not our thing. And the theme of the movie with Out of the Shadows is pretty much the Turtles want to come up and live normal lives outside of the sewer, and this could allow that to possibly happen. And the question is, should they or shouldn't they? Raph and Mikey are kind of on the side of they should, so they try to steal some mutagen from a police holding, and then Leo and Donatello are kind of like on the well. Donatello still seems kind of curious about it as well.
Yeah,
Leo's the one who kind of shuts it down.
Donatello's like, I think this could do that, and Leo's like, it can and it won't. Shut the fuck up. And Donnie's like, all right, you're the boss. But like Raph overhears it, and then that's how it gets going. So yeah, Donatello doesn't agree. He just kind of acquiesces because Leo's the boss.
Yeah, he's not really on anyone's side in this. So, but then Splinter gets kind of like word on this and tells Leo, like, hey, listen, one of a true leader understands that there's different aspects of your team, and you got to utilize that. You want different perspectives, to come into play, and that's how you ultimately, can do what you got to do. So I thought that was interesting character growth there. By the way, on the comment on Splinter, who's not in this movie that much, I liked him more in this movie than in the first one. His design and everything too, I thought looked better.
I did too. I still didn't love the design. I think I personally think the design is weirder than the Turtles. I'm with you where I'm like, yeah, when I'm watching the Turtles, it doesn't bother me. Splinter, I don't know what it is. He's very weird. But outside of that, I agree. I think he's in the first one. He's borderline abusive to these teenagers, and like in weird, Hashi, exactly. In this, I see the mentorship. I see the father figure, and I'm for that. So yeah, I agree with you. There's less of him. That's probably for the best, and what we see of him is much better than what we got in the last movie. So yeah, I'm for that.
And then Shredder and Krang. I mean, let's talk Shredder, then we can save Krang for the last.
Yeah. That's for last, baby.
Shredder's not in his suit very much, and then kind of gets into like a old school version of the suit, a mask, which I enjoyed seeing, not the souped up version, even though I kind of enjoyed the souped up version. I liked seeing him in more of the traditional Shredder outfit. at the
It's
end.
almost as if the director was basing this on the '87 cartoon.
Just the whole film, just basically the whole film.
No, but it's great. I agree with you. Like I had nothing against the mech shredder thing we had the last movie. It was fine. But seeing him in the more the more pared down, seeing him more kind of not like less powerful, right? Which I like because the first one he's the villain.
Mhm.
They overcome him. Now he's trying to get back. He doesn't just become the villain again. Krang's the villain of this one, and much like in the cartoon, he's kind of subjugated at times, and to the point where like Krang double crosses him in the exact same way he double crosses Bebop and Rocksteady, which is poetic, and freezes him and puts him somewhere for the third movie we're never going to get.
Unfortunately. So then the Turtles have their big showdown with Krang at the end of the movie, and it's Krang in full robot fucking bodysuit thing.
Perfect.
He's in the middle,
Perfect.
he's popping out left and right. They have the big showdown with him. He gets defeated. His whole thing is he's trying to bring the Technodrome piece by piece from Dimension X to Earth and take over. And they beat him and shut it down. And essentially, I mean, that's that. And the Turtles do get to somewhat live the life they want to live. Like they do get kind of honored by the NYPD in this.
Oh yes.
And they have their moment on Ellis Island, and they're there. So the police department knows the Turtles exist, and they're kind of like they'll take the midway point in this.
Yeah.
They'll work side by side with the NYPD. Rightfully so. Obviously, people would lose their fucking minds if they knew Mutant Turtles exist. So I thought that was pretty cool.
No, I agree, and I also think like this movie sets up like a through line, right? Like the beginning of this, they're fucking stuck up there watching the Knicks, dropping pizza on the floor, ruining the Knicks' game. Who was that who slipped? Because I'm not a sports guy.
That was DeAndre Jordan, if I remember right.
Okay.
It was on the Clippers at the time.
And there's a great scene about like, I slipped pizza. How'd the pizza get here? And the ref's like, I don't know, man. You're done. You're done. But like that whole scene in the beginning is they're pissed off that they can't Will Arnett's getting these cool seats and we save the city and we get nothing. And it's called Out of the Shadows. And the whole movie is about them realizing, okay, we'll never have the fame that Will Arnett can because that's not our lot. But we can still come out of the shadows and live a life on the upside, right? Like outside of the sewer. And I think it deserves a sequel because I want to see that sort of fleshed out more. But I also think it's for a movie sequel based on an '87 cartoon. It's doing some interesting stuff character-wise that I would have liked to have seen move forward.
Agreed. I'm kind of bummed that we didn't get a third one now. Because I was like, hey, I was kind of these two movies I was way more into than I expected to be when we started this thing. So
Yeah.
I thought it was definitely worthy of that. And I think the ending of this kind of like Mutant Mayhem. So Mutant Mayhem, for those who've seen it, the Turtles go to high school and they're kind of like living amongst people. They're really beyond Out of the Shadows. This I thought was a much more realistic way for them to kind of get out of the shadows in this. So
yeah, because it's
that
not
was my
like
knock against Mutant Mayhem, where I was like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, it's not like you're going to get full absolute acceptance because as much as I would love to think that human beings were forward enough to accept 4 very good-hearted, intelligent Ninja Turtles, we're still not at the point where we can accept people who are attracted to the same gender. We still can't accept people who have a different religion than us. So I'm sorry, it's a big ass for me to believe that. This, not a big ass. This is the police going, hey, we're going to acknowledge you and we can use you, but stay the fuck underground. Exactly what our government would do.
Yeah, it's much more realistic than I thought. What we're getting at. And again, we're comparing stories about Ninja Turtles, so it is what it is.
Wait, are you saying Ninja Turtles don't exist?
Maybe. Maybe not.
Then who did I deliver that pizza to just a couple hours ago? We started that. It was in a weird, sketchy neighborhood. It just said, "Leave it on the sewer grate."
All right. So that's it, man. We have wrapped up our turtle retrospective now.
All right.
I'm
I,
glad.
I have to admit, I have to admit, I walked out of the Transformers really, really angry and salty. I'm walking out of the Ninja Turtles very upbeat. Even the stuff I didn't love, I didn't hate. I think all of these Ninja Turtle movies, if you like Ninja Turtles, are worth a watch. And if you don't, watch the first one from the 80s. And if you don't have nostalgia for it, you'll hate it, but watch it anyway. And then watch this one. And then pick and choose. After you watch those two, figure out what you like about Ninja Turtles, because they're very different, and pick accordingly.
I think I would recommend. Obviously, I'd recommend the 1991. That one I still think is the best one. I would recommend both of these Bay produced ones. Certain Ninja Turtles 3 is I'm sorry, that's just total trash.
That wasn't even a movie.
Yeah, I wouldn't recommend anyone watch that because that thing really pisses me off. It really did.
Yeah,
it really.
I'd say like watch them all but 3. Even 2 has its moments. I'm sorry, it does.
Well, it has these like iconic things about Vanilla Ice and stuff, and
right,
yada yada. So I can see where that one's is. 3 is the only one. The TMNT animated movie from 2007.
Oh yeah.
That's the most forgettable one. I'm going to be honest. That one was like very blah.
Yeah, I didn't love that one. I actually, now that I'm thinking about it, I don't remember anything about it.
Exactly. So.
Yeah.
And if you.
Oh wait, no. April O'Neil was played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, but that's not fair because I love Sarah Michelle Gellar. So.
Chris Evans was Casey Jones. That's it.
That's right. Yeah, that was that too.
But highly recommended. Batman versus Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
Oh yeah,
100%. Arguably the best film we covered, and Turtles Forever is fucking awesome. If that's the ultimate love letter to all things Turtles.
Oh yeah, like if you are someone who has either watched the old Turtles or the new Turtles, and you want something that melds them both, this is it. This was perfect. Like I would actually say that was my favorite. Then Batman versus Turtles. Mm-hmm. Then one, then this one, and like Gilligan's Island, then the rest.
So, there it is. No, this is crazy. I can't. We watched a lot of Ninja Turtles. Even Angie was just like,
"I know.
Wait, you have another one?" I was like, yes."
It's actually going to be weird next week not talking Ninja Turtles.
It's true. We actually will be getting back to other stuff because this Ninja Turtles is very much comic book oriented, so it is.
Absolutely. Like again, people forget this started as a comic book.
Yes, and it's been many comic book iterations, as many as we've seen cartoons and live action. So,
yep.
All right. Well, thanks for joining us as always. We appreciate the support. If you're joining us on Facebook, check out Granny's Peach Tea's Facebook group and drop us some comments and stuff there. It's a lot of articles and stories that don't really make the show. So check us out there. If you're checking us out on YouTube, subscribe to Pop Culture Pros, because that's what we are presented by, popculturepros.com. If you're watching us on X, you can check out at Pop Culture Pros. Subscribe there as one, follow, and whatever the heck it's being called now, Instagram, and also wherever you found your audio-only podcast. Jason and I will be back next week. We will be giving the movies a couple of weeks off because we do have a shitload of shows coming our way. Ooh. We got Gen V next week again, episode 4. We will have the series, the season 2 premiere of Loki as well. We also have Doom Patrol coming up. Their second half of their final season is shortly on its way. So we got a lot of streaming shows coming our way. So we'll have that until we'll cover Captain Marvel in a few weeks. And then we got the Marvels. That'll be our next new movie to cover. So check all of that out and we'll see you next week. Peace.